If you're a man over 60, the fruit you're eating on an empty stomach could be silently destroying your hormonal balance and blood flow. I'm talking about 7 specific fruits that millions of men consume every morning, thinking they're being healthy. But these seemingly innocent choices are actually working against your testosterone, your circulation, and your overall vitality. What I'm about to reveal will completely change how you think about your breakfast routine. And the 5th fruit on this list is probably sitting in your kitchen right now, doing more damage than you can imagine. Welcome back to the channel. I'm here to give you the unvarnished truth about men's health after 60. And today, we're diving deep into something that affects nearly every man watching this video. For over 3 decades, I've been helping men understand how their daily choices impact their hormonal health, their energy levels, and their overall quality of life. And what I've discovered about these 7 fruits will shock you, because the mainstream health advice has been getting this completely wrong. You see, when you hit 60, your body doesn't process sugars the same way it did when you were 30. Your insulin sensitivity changes, your testosterone production shifts, and your vascular system becomes more vulnerable to inflammation. Yet most men are still following breakfast advice designed for younger bodies, and it's costing them dearly. Before we get into the specific fruits, you need to understand what's happening inside your body when you eat high-sugar foods on an empty stomach. This is the foundation that explains why these 7 fruits are so problematic for men over 60. When you consume fruit high in natural sugars, first thing in the morning, your blood glucose spikes rapidly. Your pancreas responds by flooding your system with insulin to bring that sugar under control. Now, here's what most men don't realize. Insulin is like a hormonal bully. When insulin levels surge, they directly suppress testosterone production in your Leydig cells. But it gets worse. That insulin spike also triggers inflammation in your blood vessels, particularly the delicate endothelial cells that line your arteries. These cells produce nitric oxide, which is absolutely crucial for healthy blood flow throughout your body, including to your reproductive organs. When these cells become inflamed, nitric oxide production plummets. Think of it this way. You're essentially choosing between a quick sugar rush and your long-term hormonal health. And for men over 60, this choice has consequences that compound over time. Your body simply doesn't bounce back from these insulin spikes like it used to. Let's start with the first fruit that's probably in most of your kitchens right now. Bananas, particularly the overripe ones. I know this might be hard to hear, because bananas have been marketed as the perfect healthy snack for decades. They're convenient, they're cheap, and they're packed with potassium. But here's what the marketing doesn't tell you. As bananas ripen, their starch converts to sugar. That soft spotted banana that you might toss into your morning smoothie contains significantly more sugar than a firm green banana. When you eat an overripe banana on an empty stomach, you're essentially mainlining fructose and glucose directly into your bloodstream. For a man over 60, this creates a perfect storm. Your insulin sensitivity is already declining with age, so that sugar hit triggers an even more dramatic insulin response than it would in a younger man. This insulin surge doesn't just affect your blood sugar, it actively suppresses the luteinizing hormone that signals your testes to produce testosterone. I've seen this pattern repeatedly in my practice. Men come to me complaining about low energy, reduced libido, and poor morning erections. When we dig into their diet, we often find they're starting every day with a banana smoothie or banana on cereal, thinking they're being healthy. The potassium in bananas is beneficial, but you can get that same potassium from sources that won't spike your blood sugar. If you absolutely must have bananas, eat them later in the day, paired with protein or healthy fats to slow the sugar absorption. Better yet, choose a slightly green banana over an overripe one. The second fruit that's silently sabotaging your hormonal health is grapes. These little sugar bombs might look innocent, but they're concentrated sources of fructose and glucose with minimal fiber to slow absorption. Here's what makes grapes particularly problematic for men over 60. They're mostly water and sugar. When you pop a handful of grapes in your mouth first thing in the morning, you're getting a rapid-fire delivery of sugar with virtually nothing to buffer it. Your blood sugar spikes within minutes, triggering that familiar insulin cascade. But grapes have an additional problem that many men don't consider. Because they're so easy to overeat, portion control becomes nearly impossible. You might think you're having a small, healthy snack, but you end up consuming the sugar equivalent of a candy bar without realizing it. The research on grape consumption and insulin response is clear. Studies show that eating grapes on an empty stomach can cause blood glucose levels to rise by 40 to 60 points within 30 minutes. For men over 60, whose glucose tolerance is already compromised, this represents a significant metabolic stress. I've had patients who are eating grapes as their go-to healthy snack, sometimes multiple times per day. When we eliminated grapes from their morning routine and moved any grape consumption to after protein-rich meals, their energy levels stabilized, their mood improved, and their testosterone markers began to recover. Now, let's talk about orange juice, which might be the most deceptive item on this entire list. Orange juice has been marketed as a healthy breakfast staple for generations. It's fortified with vitamins, it's natural, and it feels like you're getting your daily dose of vitamin C. But orange juice is essentially sugar water with vitamins added. When you drink orange juice on an empty stomach, you're consuming the sugar content of multiple oranges without any of the fiber that would normally slow absorption. A typical 8-ounce glass of orange juice contains about 21 grams of sugar. That's nearly the same as a can of soda. For men over 60, this liquid sugar delivery system is particularly damaging because it bypasses all your body's natural satiety mechanisms. When you eat a whole orange, the fiber fills you up and slows sugar absorption. When you drink orange juice, that sugar hits your bloodstream like a freight train. The vitamin C argument doesn't hold water either. You can get more bioavailable vitamin C from a single kiwi or a handful of strawberries without the massive sugar load. Plus, the vitamin C in orange juice is often synthetic ascorbic acid, which doesn't provide the same benefits as naturally occurring vitamin C complexes. I've seen men who were drinking 16 to 20 ounces of orange juice every morning thinking they were starting their day healthy. When we replaced that orange juice with water and moved their fruit consumption to whole fruits eaten with meals, their energy crashes disappeared, their sleep improved, and their testosterone levels began to normalize. But if you think orange juice is bad, wait until you hear about the next fruit on our list. It's something that many men actually believe helps with circulation and blood flow. And while that's partially true, when eaten the wrong way, it can completely undermine the very benefits you're seeking. The fourth fruit that's working against your hormonal health is watermelon, especially when consumed in large quantities or on an empty stomach. Now, this one might surprise you because watermelon contains citrulline, an amino acid that converts to arginine in your body and can support nitric oxide production. So, why is it on this list? The problem isn't watermelon itself, it's how and when most men over 60 consume it. Watermelon is over 90% water, but the remaining 10% is almost entirely sugar. It has one of the highest glycemic loads of any fruit, meaning it causes rapid spikes in blood glucose. When you eat watermelon on an empty stomach, particularly those large slices that are so refreshing on a hot day, you're flooding your system with fructose faster than your liver can process it. For men over 60, whose metabolic flexibility is already reduced, this creates a cascade of problems. First, that rapid sugar spike triggers the same insulin response we've discussed suppressing testosterone production. Second, excess fructose that your liver can't immediately process gets converted to fat, contributing to visceral adiposity that further reduces testosterone. Third, the rapid blood sugar spike, followed by an inevitable crash, leaves you feeling tired and craving more sugar within hours. The irony is that while watermelon does contain beneficial compounds for circulation, eating it wrong completely negates those benefits. The insulin spike and subsequent inflammation actually reduce nitric oxide production, working against the very circulation benefits you're trying to achieve. If you enjoy watermelon, limit yourself to small portions and always eat it after a protein-rich meal when your blood sugar is stable. Never make it your breakfast or eat it as a standalone snack. The citrulline benefits are real, but they're completely overshadowed by the metabolic damage when consumed improperly. Mangoes represent one of the most deceptive fruits on this list because they're exotic, delicious, and packed with vitamins and antioxidants. Many men think they're making a sophisticated, healthy choice when they add mango to their morning routine. But mangoes are fructose bombs disguised as health food. A single cup of mango contains about 23 grams of sugar, with the majority being fructose. Unlike glucose, which every cell in your body can use for energy, fructose must be processed by your liver. When you eat mango on an empty stomach, you're sending a massive load of fructose directly to your liver first thing in the morning. For men over 60, this is particularly problematic because liver function naturally declines with age. Your liver becomes less efficient at processing fructose, leading to increased fat storage, inflammation, and insulin resistance. This creates a vicious cycle where your body becomes less capable of maintaining healthy testosterone levels. But here's what makes mangoes especially insidious. They're so delicious that portion control becomes nearly impossible. What starts as a few slices often becomes half a mango or more. You think you're having a healthy breakfast, but you're actually consuming more sugar than you'd get from a large candy bar. The antioxidants in mangoes are beneficial, but you can get those same compounds from lower sugar sources like berries or leafy greens. The vitamin A and vitamin C are valuable, but not at the cost of your hormonal health and metabolic function. I've worked with men who were eating mango smoothies every morning, sometimes with additional fruits, thinking they were supercharging their nutrition. When we eliminated the morning mango and moved any mango consumption to small portions after lunch, their energy levels stabilized, their cravings decreased, and their body composition began to improve. Pineapple is another fruit that's been given a health halo. It doesn't deserve, especially for men over 60, eating it on an empty stomach. Yes, pineapple contains bromelain, an enzyme with anti-inflammatory properties. Yes, it's rich in vitamin C and manganese, but it's also loaded with sugar and has a high glycemic index that makes it particularly problematic for morning consumption. 1 cup of fresh pineapple contains about 16 grams of sugar, with minimal fiber to slow absorption. When you eat pineapple first thing in the morning, that sugar hits your bloodstream rapidly, causing the same insulin spike and testosterone suppression we've discussed with other fruits. But pineapple has an additional problem. It's often consumed in larger quantities than people realize. Those pre-cut pineapple chunks from the grocery store make it easy to mindlessly consume what amounts to multiple servings. You think you're having a healthy snack, but you're actually getting a sugar load equivalent to drinking a sports drink. The bromelain in pineapple is beneficial for reducing inflammation, but that benefit is completely negated when the sugar content triggers systemic inflammation through insulin resistance. It's like taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back. For men over 60, the timing of pineapple consumption is crucial. If you enjoy pineapple, save it for after a protein-rich meal, when your blood sugar is stable and your body is better equipped to handle the sugar load. Never eat it on an empty stomach, and always limit portions to a few small pieces rather than large servings. The 7th, and perhaps most deceptive category on our list, is dried fruits. Raisins, dates, dried apricots, and similar products. These are often marketed as healthy snacks, and many men over 60 think they're making smart choices by choosing dried fruit over candy. But dried fruits are essentially nature's candy with the water removed. When fruit is dried, the water evaporates, but all the sugar remains concentrated in a much smaller package. A small box of raisins contains the sugar equivalent of several grapes, but without the water content that would help you feel full. This makes it incredibly easy to overconsume sugar without realizing it. Dates are particularly problematic because they're extremely high in sugar and often eaten in multiples. A single medjool date contains about 16 grams of sugar. Many men eat 2 or 3 dates thinking they're having a light, healthy snack, but they're actually consuming more sugar than they'd get from a candy bar. The fiber content in dried fruits is often touted as a benefit, but it's not enough to offset the concentrated sugar load, especially when consumed on an empty stomach. That fiber doesn't slow absorption enough to prevent the rapid blood sugar spike that triggers insulin release and testosterone suppression. Dried fruits are also incredibly easy to overeat because they don't trigger satiety signals the way whole fruits do. You can easily consume the sugar equivalent of 6 or 8 pieces of fresh fruit in a handful of dried fruit without feeling full. If you enjoy dried fruits, treat them like candy. Have them occasionally in very small portions and always after a balanced meal that includes protein and healthy fats. Never eat them as a breakfast food or standalone snack, especially first thing in the morning when your blood sugar is most sensitive to spikes. Now that we've covered the 7 fruits to avoid on an empty stomach, let's talk about what you should do instead. The goal isn't to eliminate all fruit from your diet, but to consume it strategically in ways that support, rather than undermine, your hormonal health. First, timing matters enormously. Save fruit consumption for after meals, particularly meals that include protein and healthy fats. This slows sugar absorption and minimizes the insulin response. Never eat fruit as your first food of the day or as a standalone snack between meals. Second, choose lower sugar fruits when possible. Berries are your best option because they're relatively low in sugar and high in fiber and antioxidants. A cup of strawberries contains only about 7 grams of sugar compared to 23 grams in a cup of mango. Berries also contain compounds that actually improve insulin sensitivity rather than undermining it. Third, focus on whole fruits rather than juices or dried fruits. The fiber in whole fruits slows absorption and helps regulate blood sugar response. When you remove the fiber through juicing or drying, you're left with concentrated sugar that hits your system too quickly. Fourth, pay attention to portion sizes. Even healthy fruits should be consumed in moderation. A serving of fruit should be about the size of your fist, not multiple pieces or large portions that overwhelm your body's ability to process the sugar effectively. Understanding why these fruits are problematic goes beyond just avoiding sugar spikes. For men over 60, maintaining stable blood sugar and insulin levels is crucial for preserving testosterone production, supporting healthy circulation, and maintaining energy levels throughout the day. Your body's ability to handle sugar decreases with age due to several factors. Insulin sensitivity naturally declines, meaning your cells become less responsive to insulin signals. Your liver becomes less efficient at processing fructose. Your muscle mass typically decreases, reducing your body's ability to absorb and utilize glucose effectively. These age-related changes mean that dietary choices that might have been fine in your 30s or 40s can become problematic in your 60s and beyond. The morning fruit routine that seemed healthy for decades might now be working against your hormonal health and overall vitality. The good news is that these changes are largely reversible. When you eliminate the problematic fruits from your morning routine and adopt better timing and portion control for fruit consumption, your body responds quickly. Many men notice improvements in energy levels within days and improvements in other markers of health within weeks. The 7 fruits we've discussed today: overripe bananas, grapes, orange juice, watermelon, in excess mangoes, pineapple, and dried fruits, might seem like healthy choices, but for men over 60, consuming them on an empty stomach can silently undermine your hormonal health, energy levels, and overall vitality. The solution isn't to eliminate fruit entirely, but to consume it strategically. Save fruit for after meals. Choose lower sugar options like berries. Focus on whole fruits rather than juices, and pay attention to portion sizes. These simple changes can make a dramatic difference in how you feel and function. Remember, your body at 60 isn't the same as it was at 30, and your nutrition strategy needs to reflect that reality. The mainstream advice that treats all adults the same regardless of age is doing men over 60 a disservice. You need age-specific guidance that takes into account the hormonal and metabolic changes that come with maturity. If this information has been helpful, make sure to subscribe for more evidence-based health advice, specifically for for men over 60. Share this video with other men who might benefit from this information. And most importantly, start implementing these changes tomorrow morning. Your future self will thank you for taking action today. Your health, your energy, and your quality of life are worth the effort to get this right. Small changes in your morning routine can lead to significant improvements in how you feel and function throughout the day. The choice is yours, and the time to act is now. Thanks for watching Wise Advice Elder, where we share wisdom, life lessons, and relationship advice from those who've truly experienced it all. Subscribe now for more insightful content.